So the Tao of Trauma is a year-long series of workshops that integrates the self-protective response defined by neurobiology with the 5 elements of acupuncture and Asian medicine. You'll learn interaction, observation, and touch skills that will support your work with trauma survivors, restoring balance and regulation to their body, mind, and spirit. The course is rooted in the work of Peter Levine and his somatic experiencing model of trauma healing. The course as a whole is built on some fundamental premises that Peter Levine, the developer of somatic experiencing, put together for us all, and I'm indebted to him. First, that 2-legged animals, us human beings, and 4-legged animals go through the same steps in our process of responding to danger or life threat. Second, that it's the successful completion of all 5 of those steps that mitigates the imprint of trauma. Third, symptoms arise when a particular step is thwarted or remains incomplete. And fourth, the unique step that remains incomplete will influence how trauma's imprint affects body tissues, psychological constructs, functional challenges, and spiritual longings. So Dr. Levine's 5 steps, here's the curious thing. Dr. Levine's 5 steps are mirrored in the 5 elements of acupuncture and Asian medicine. I've renamed those steps through this lens, and we're going to call them awakening arousal, signaling threat, mobilizing a response, creating coherence, and digesting the gristle. And the wisdom of acupuncture and Asian medicine teaches us that there are certain resonant relationships between these 5 elements, water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, with certain emotions, organs, tissues, functions, and spiritual longings. So we can integrate these corresponding aspects of life with neurobiology, and putting the 2 together can guide clinicians, providers, to more nuanced approaches to the imprint of trauma on a survivor's body, mind, and spirit. So we're going to go through these 5 steps and give you a little thumbnail of each step and how that information can give rise to a sense of a survivor type and treat your clients in a more nuanced and individualized way. So the threat response begins with awakening arousal, like our little squirrel here. He's aware that a twig has perhaps broken in his environment. He can hear it, and that arousal, that listening has awakened a sense of arousal in him. The metal is both the beginning and the end of the threat response. In our slide here, this little squirrel has heard a twig snap, and his attention has been called. So that awareness begins with the function of the metal and the lung and the sense of sensate awareness or animal awareness that resides in the lung. Once the squirrel realizes that that wasn't just the wind that snapped that stick, but it's actually Farmer McGregor and he's got a shotgun, his kidney adrenal system, his water element, will signal threat through his whole body. You can see his eyes and even the hair on his ears are standing up in fear. So in this particular workshop on the water and the signaling function of the kidney adrenal system, we'll explore habituated fear, we'll explore the impact of habituated fear on morbidity and mortality, the impact of ancestral trauma, and take a look at health disparities in poor and minority communities. And you'll learn skills to create a sense of safe container in the body of a survivor, help them develop capacity to recognize both safety and danger in their kidney adrenal system, and you'll learn some skills to restore regulation in the brainstem after traumatic stress, particularly for head injuries. The next step in the threat response, after threat has been signaled, is to mobilize a response. We'll either fight or we'll flee. So in this workshop, we'll explore the impact of a mobilization response that gets thwarted and can result in chronic pain patterns, a lack of embodied awareness. You don't want to live in your body anymore when it's got so much arousal in it, and the impact of habituated anger and anxiety on the body, mind, spirit. You'll learn skills to restore proprioception in the sinews, capacity to orient to threats, and benevolence as the true nature of the wood element and the liver organ. If that mobilization response has been successful, our liver communicates that success to the heart. And the heart is then able to send a message out to the kingdom of the body in its pulse, in the regulation of the pulse, and the ease and steadiness that comes with the blood pulse that's transmitted from the heart. So in this workshop, in the summertime, we'll explore the heart of trauma. We'll look at social engagement as the foundation for resilience. We'll look at cardiac coherence, the energy of the heart and how that communicates coherence to the whole body. And we'll look at the physiology of connection and the importance of feeling connected with each other as a way to have a more resilient community and family and individual. You'll learn skills to restore the pericardium's capacity for connection, the infrastructure of connection that's in the triple burner, a very special organ that the Chinese recognize, and we'll explore the heart's gift of propriety and whole body regulation and how to help restore that. In the Earth workshop, we're going to explore digesting the gristle of trauma and harvesting the lessons that are always in there. We'll look at the function of the visceral brain, the organs of digestion, and the importance of health in this system in order to keep the gut biome healthy so that it can produce neurotransmitters for our mental health, as well as T cells to enhance our immune system, and to allow for peristalsis to move not just food but also life experiences through our system and allow us to eliminate what wants to be eliminated and retain the lessons and the beauty in the lessons that we've been given in life. We'll also look at the importance of interoception, the way our gut knows what's fair, our gut knows what's safe, our gut knows who's to be trusted, and how to build the capacity for interoception in trauma survivors. Our specific skills will be in learning how to restore peristalsis in the guts, vitality in the visceral brain, capacity to digest food and experiences, and vitality in the muscle tissue that's regulated by the spleen and the stomach. And then we'll come back around and finish with the metal. The metal's job is to help us with embodied awareness. So it teaches us about somatic mindfulness. So we'll learn about how to enhance awareness of threat with our interoception, instinctive responses like when a ball is coming towards us to catch it. Our animal nature is reflected in the spirit of the lung. We'll look at global threat and the impact on the diaphragm system. When we catch our breath, and where does that brace or collapse, the impact of that brace or collapse in our diaphragms, how is that transmitted through our system? And we'll learn skills to restore capacity for curiosity instead of alertness, an embodied sense of containment in the skin, a boundary, safe boundary in the skin, and regulation in the diaphragm system after global arousal. So each of these workshops will explore the development of a construct around 5 survivor types. Chinese medicine has held hundreds of years that we're born with both genetics and a certain constitutional nature that influences our capacity to respond to threats. Some of us will have strengths in one area, weaknesses in another area, and it will make us more or less vulnerable to certain steps in that threat response. So we're going to learn how to recognize these 5 elements in a person in both their hyper-aroused state and their hypo-aroused state. And utilizing that diagnostic lens will help you know which kind of remedies, which remedies are going to be the most helpful to this survivor, to a particular survivor. Here's our schedule for the 2019 series. The end of January, we'll have signaling threat. In March, we'll have mobilize a response. In June, restore coherence. In September, digest the gristle. And in November, awaken arousal. I hope you'll feel welcome. So the Tao of Trauma, in sum, interprets the principles of acupuncture and Asian medicine, takes them beyond needles and herbs, and applies them in a framework that's accessible to all providers. Please feel welcome to this course if you're an acupuncturist, if you're a somatic experiencing practitioner or intermediate level student, or if you have equivalent training. Survivors should not be siloed into mental health, physical health, spiritual health. We're going to integrate a survivor into a whole person and learn how to respond in a whole way to help restore regulation and balance in their body, their mind, and their spirit. Here's the fee structure. And the course will be using my new book, The Tao of Trauma, as a reference text for the book. You're going to get a free copy with your registration. Healing trauma spreads like honey on warm toast. Sending a survivor home with a more regulated nervous system, a more regulated energy body, will influence how they relate to their children, their spouse, their coworkers, their neighbors. We can create a more peaceful and just world with restoring regulation in trauma survivors. Please join me. Our fragile and beautiful, broken and exquisite world needs healers like you.